Gala happened recently, and I think it had another great theme with a lot of potential, being costume art, and that big idea being fashion is art. It's not the Met Gala without half of the looks being disappointing. Today I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite looks as an average viewer. I'm not going to know the meanings and inspiration behind every single look. I did look into a few of them, but I think the main consensus has been that not enough people try to fit the themes in the past years anyways. Sometimes it feels like they pick their dress first and then they decide how it's going to fit the theme. It's just my opinion, and I'm probably going to get a few things wrong, but overall it's just really fun to talk about fashion. First, let's talk about those stairs. Usually they tend to be hideous, and sometimes I think they ruin the outfit for me. It looks like a tan cinder block with moss growing on it, and I loved it. First up, we have Blake Lively. I love all those colors together, and I think it looks really good on her. It's accessorized really well. I love her earrings, and her bag is such a unique shape. Almost like a lantern, but I like that about it. Her bag is custom Judith Leiber with her children's artwork on it. Especially being bedazzled and with a tassel, I think nothing here feels too out of place because everything ties in nicely. In terms of theme, the fabric and the light colors remind me of watercolor, and that beading really elevated the dress and gave it that sparkle, which I know takes artistry since it's got to be hand-sewn, and I like how creative they were for its placement. The only real negative thing I have to say about it is I wish they took account for it peeking through the halter strap there. Then we have Sabrina Carpenter. I like how they chose to make it from a movie called Sabrina, which casts Audrey Hepburn, which I think is a style icon for her brand. Other than film also being art, it's like an unconventional materials design challenge, but that really makes it more artsy. And I mean that in the best way. I love everything about the dress. It's very her with the high slit, and I love how they draped it and how it's fitted at the top of her hip and all the way up. I know Sabrina loves this style of shoe, but I think for the dress it's too dark and it reminds me of that paint that's the darkest black in the world. A sparkly shoe would have been too much, but maybe a glossy basic stiletto would have been good. I'm not sure about the headpiece, I'm kind of in between with it. Cardi B's dress was inspired by an artist called Hans Bellmer. Looking up this artist, he had really cool artwork. You can really see from his work the inspiration that they took from how he was a bit surrealist. And I skimmed his Wikipedia, and I guess I'd assume his message towards women's bodies had a positive meaning behind his work. Hopefully, probably a double entendre within his work, and the reason why Cardi B's wearing it maybe. But I was scrolling on Instagram and saw this dress, which inspired me to make the video. I love the lace and the colors, and the playful side to it. A lot of people were expecting the nude approach to art, and I think Cardi B brought it in a really unexpected way that I liked. For Madonna's look, I think this is a performance piece more than it is just an outfit, because her black ensemble she's just wearing is pretty much boring, and I think this veil and her human accessories basically are what makes it really interesting. I like the fabric around their eyes, and I didn't like most of the celebrities' sheer looks, but the sheerness of their dresses actually work, and I like all the colors that were chosen. It's a nice contrast to her black outfit. I think it's great she didn't put them in the same cloaks as the painting. Next up for SZA. This look reminded me specifically of my brother. Those roses on her hands really stood out because they feel a little out of place, but I don't know if they have any significance. It's a look that feels fully committed to, being a bright color and with a whole lot going on with all types of embellishments. With her arms extended, she really looks like a nature fairy. I had to look up more about it because it seemed really crafty, and it makes you wonder what is the exact inspiration. But all I could find is that all the materials are sourced from eBay, which is a really cool idea, but for such a big celebrity, I think it sounds like a huge shout out. Could be just that, like, that's the most artsy website, I guess. She's supporting other artists. Jason Williams, I immediately recognized him from his advertisements I've been seeing him in. He's so beautiful he could have came as a sculpture, and he reminds me of one. Immediately thought of a bullfighter, which I like, and his hair and jewelry look great, but his makeup was the cherry on top. The only tiny critique that I'd have is that his pants could have been tailored or at least pinned up inside to a better length. If his eyeliner was a more classic puppy eyeliner style, do you think that would just clean up the look? It kind of gives Jackson Wang makeup. I Next up is Doja Cat. I really like Doja Cat's monochromatic look, and I remember someone saying that she requested it to be made in silicone. I liked it more when I saw it from the front, but in the second photo you can see from the side the inspiration was ancient Greek statue drapery. But it feels like intention was to be not so full on with the theme. Could have been an afterthought or not as planned out. Rachel Sennett immediately got the reference to geometric abstract art like cubism or maybe just pop art. It also reminded me of a simplified Zooble character. Her wing stood out to me because I liked what she's wearing, but also the lack of makeup. It's her thing to be very minimal as part of her personal brand apparently. I just think a little eyeshadow could have gone a long way. Emma Chamberlain, I usually like what she wears, and I think it does fit the theme obviously. I love the effect that her French sleeve has, and the placement of the paint kind of waterfalling down her body with the edges being blue. That's really cool. And I don't know if it needed to be a turtleneck. I think it could have been if the color would have continued up onto her neck, because the back was also really bare, so they could have just put some paint on the back and then up to the neck. I just don't like that brown splotch on her other hip. It makes that section look really unfinished and it just doesn't fit in with the rest of the dress. And those are my top 10 favorites. But then for Rosé, it's not technically included in my favorite lineup. I just had to say that for K-pop idols, people don't really understand that the majority of idols are probably not going to really try to be on theme, or at least I'd never expect Rosé to do that at this point. She's always been making headlines for her disappointing outfits, but I wonder if she even has enough control to fix that. At this point, it is her branding to show up in a basic black look. People are gonna keep complaining, and that's just giving her more online buzz and fans arguing in the comments, so it doesn't really matter anyways. It's just gonna happen every time, and bad publicity is still attention and traction on social media. I couldn't believe my ears when the guy chatting on TV said he was surprised to see a pop star wear something simple, like to contrast how you'd expect their stage outfits to be, I guess, but he kind of said something along those lines, and it really showed that he didn't know her at all, or remembered any of her previous looks. That shouldn't be expected if he kind of knew her. Maya Hockey, I don't really have a lot to say about. Her outfit was not one of my favorites. She just reminded me of these paintings with her expression and her art placement. She had a really simple dress and a little frumpy. What are some of your favorite looks? Thank you for watching. It was really fun to see how people wore it, and it's also fun to see who you can recognize since I don't really know who's ever going to show up.